Right in the parking lot of the church where I'm a pastor, you'll find poor people. It's actually the smallest park in our city is in our parking lots, and you'll find people living in poverty, drinking alcohol out of paper bags. In other words, every time we gather as a church to worship, there is poverty literally on the other side of the church wall. Did you know that poverty is a huge issue in the Bible? One pastor decided to clip out every verse in the scripture that had to do with the poor, with the needy, with widows, with injustice, and he found that over 2,000 verses in the scripture address the topic. So, as you examine your own heart, do you think that you work to love poor people? I'm guessing if you're anything like me, here's your struggle. You think that poor people might not take full advantage of your love. You think they might waste your gift. You think if you help them, that they're going to squander it on some sin that maybe got them into poverty in the first place. But here, Jesus' brother James says that a Christian should actually have the opposite view. Listen to his words. Listen, my dear brothers and sisters. Has not God chosen those who are poor in the eyes of the world to be rich in faith and to inherit the kingdom he promised those who love him? But you have dishonored the poor. James says, don't you remember that God chooses poor people? People who are poor in the eyes of the world, people who are poor spiritually and struggle with sin. And think about what God does. He gives us grace. Is it possible that you would waste the grace of God? That he could give you a healthy body and you would go out and sin with it? That he could forgive you and instead of being grateful, you would go back to your sin? Well, of course it is. That's our human struggle, but does it stop God? No, he is generous to people who are poor, people who struggle with sin. That's what grace does. You see, it's grace that totally revamps the way that a Christian thinks about the poor. We shower grace upon grace. Might people waste that grace? Absolutely, but it won't stop us from giving and giving and giving. So can I challenge you today? My wife and I have decided that we're going to take 1% of our budget and give it to organizations that help those in our community who help the poor. Can I challenge you to do the same thing? In a very tangible way that reflects the emphasis that the Bible has on poverty, would you give of your riches, of your resources to show grace in all of our communities? Let's show as much grace to those who are poor as God has shown to us in our poverty so that all of us can be truly spiritually rich. This month I have something really special to share with you. A little book called Gay and God, Loving Everyone God Made and Everything That God Wrote. I'm not sure what you think, know, or believe about homosexuality, but many people inside and outside of this church struggle with same-sex attraction. So what does God say? What should Christians do? What should we believe? How should we react? This little book doesn't have all the answers, but many of them, and the passages that'll help give you a great, grace-filled biblical foundation. If you click the link below and give a donation to our ministry, we would love to send you this booklet that you would be prepared to represent Jesus Christ, all of his truth, and all of his love in the world that we live in today. Thank you so much for your support, and God bless.